What is going on, everybody? We have reached the point that is the main event, so to speak, of night 2 of Halfway to Halloween. A very cool roundtable podcast that I hope you guys enjoy, both live stream and in audio format, however you come upon it. We have a very cool group of gentlemen here joining me that have really been a part of the Horrific Network since the beginning as guests in featured times. And before we really get into it, I got to say thank you to each of them for joining me here. So first up, he was a guest probably within the first 25 guests of this podcast. He is the director of a very cool documentary called Foolish Mortals about the Haunted Mansion, and the operator of Creepy Kingdom website and podcast, Mr. James H. Carter II. How you doing, sir?
Howdy. Oh my God, so excited to be here on this Halfway to Halloween celebration.
Absolutely, man. Another very cool member of the group here for this one. He has been a guest at Sinister Creature Con. He has interviewed me at Sinister Creature Con. He is a really cool horror host from our local area here in California. His show has been seen from all over the place. You'd probably have known him if you are an indie horror fan. Mr. Lord Blood Rah, how you doing, sir?
My lords and ladies, very happy to be here. And James, you've got some kind of spectral phenomenon happening behind you. Oh, it disappeared. It disappeared, man.
Aura, yeah.
Wow. Hey, glad to be here. Hello, everyone.
Oh! This guy, upon starting this channel, this film came out in 2014. I loved it immediately. Starry eyes. He would go on to make produce Camera Obscura. He was a producer on Scare Package, The Pale Door, all horror films that he has been attached to. I have been a fan on, so I am super stoked that he is involved in this conversation. Let me welcome Aaron B. Kootz. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you guys having me along.
No problem. This guy also is a wonderful film producer. We literally were just talking before we went live, how we literally had a conversation before Cutthroat City came out, and now it's going to be equally as cool to have him involved after the success that Cutthroat City has had. He has always been a supporter of our online events, so we are stoked to have him back as a guest. Mr. William Clevinger, how are you doing, sir?
What's up, gang? How's it going? Happy to be here, and thank you again, Jimmy.
No problem, man. No problem. And, Sean Haitz, he apologizes. He has the flu, not feeling well, didn't even, he'd rather not hop on and then have to hop off than, you know what I mean? So in his place, we have a very cool replacement here. This man, actually, on top of being my co-host of a lot of our podcasts, he is an award-winning playwright. He has an encyclopedic film and horror knowledge that surpasses my own, absolutely. I'm proud to call him a friend. Jay Levesque, how you doing, man?
Hello. How you guys doing today?
What up, Jay?
Hello.
Hey, Jay.
I love all of our different shades of facial hair going on. This is...
Jay, you know what's cool for me with Jimmy giving that intro? You interviewed me last time, so this is cool. that you're
I
back.
know it was absolutely wonderful getting to interview you, and now to sit alongside you. I feel very honored. This is
Same, my
amazing.
man. Same.
So I guess my first question for each of you guys, because it is halfway to Halloween, and everybody does enjoy horror for the most part who is watching this, hopefully. What was the horror movie? And we can go around kind of in like a counterclockwise with James and Blood Rah, and then down to Aaron to Jay. What was the horror movie that made you want to do something involved in, whatever the creepy may be? I know James' Creepy Kingdom isn't necessarily like the true like rated R horror all the time, but I know you're a horror fan. And then Blood Rah, the stuff on your show isn't necessarily like NC-17 horror movies that you are hosting all the time, but you are a horror fan. And Aaron, your horror movies that you have produced have given me straight up NC-17 nightmares at some point. So at some point, like, horror is horror. So what was it, man? Starting with James, what was it that got you into digging the horror genre?
Well, we usually say, what's the first horror movie you saw that you fell in love with? I usually say it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yes.
Because there's so much dark, disturbing imagery throughout it.
Oh yeah, those early Disney definitely had horror elements.
Yeah, for sure. You think about Snow White, you usually think about most people think about the dwarves and happy stuff, but so much with the forest and everything the witch does, and just the plot of the movie that she wants Snow White's heart in a box. I would say that imagery and that whole story is what really drew me into it. It's the reason that Creepy Kingdom exists, and the reason me to want to do anything in horror or anything with a creepy aesthetic. But my real answer, I usually always go back to Gremlins, because that was the first movie I felt that really pushed me out of my comfort zone when I was a kid. And I loved it, but I was terrified of it at the same time. And it's, watching it now as an adult, it always brings me back to feeling like, as being 7 or 8 years old the first time, when you're just like, oh, this is so much fun and it's cute and all that, but oh my God, they're gonna rip me apart alive and all that stuff. So yeah, those. My answer is Gremlins.
All right. The first horror movie that really got me excited and made me really, enjoy the entire thing. I mean, you could call it a horror film, but it's more of a horror comedy. Was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Oh,
Watching that was my introduction to the Universal monsters. Then, of course, I caught all the originals. But just that show, just the mixture of that comedy and those monsters the monsters were deadpan serious. It was Abbott and Costello that supplied the comedy. The monsters were never made fun of or anything like that. They were straight. They were straight as an arrow. It was Abbott and Costello that were the funny ones. But the thing that made me want to become involved in horror was my local horror host show that I grew up on, which was Creature Features with Bob Wilkins.
Bob Wilkins.
Oh yeah. Just the master, the master of geek cool, man. Just a guy sitting there, glasses in a suit, tell it like it is about the movies. So if it's a good film, he'll talk about it in that way. If it's a bad film, he'll take out a TV guide and tell you what's on the other channels. It's like, don't watch this, man. This isn't worth it. Don't bother.
There's no reason for you to continue. 2 channels over, however.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. So it was really Creature Features that got me to fall in love with the entire genre, from 50s sci-fi to the Universal horror to Hammer horror to.
He was the original Joe Bob, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good point. He was. Yeah.
And Svengoolie and him too. Yeah.
Svengoolie.
Yeah.
Even Gilbert Godfrey, man, up all night on USA.
Wow.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah, right. Yeah. Horror. Well, don't get me started on the history of horror hosting, but it goes back. It goes back to radio. So their TV with Vampiro was the first TV horror host, and blah blah blah. Anyway, we'll get into the history later.
It's funny listening to you guys talk about like people, because being a kid of the 80s, like our horror hosts were like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
And
Right.
like so we didn't have like the person to necessarily leech onto. Like I would watch reruns of Twilight Zone or Night Gallery or any of the old stuff with my
Too.
dad.
Talk on Nick at Night when we like 80s,
Yeah.
90s. Same
Right. Yeah. So like HBO, like Crypt Keeper, like Tales from the Crypt, like they kept like bringing that show back, and so
Oh, yeah.
there was always current episodes that would come out. So he was like my horror host for sure.
Well,
Yeah,
and Elvira was active back then, more
Oh,
so,
yeah,
right?
for
I think
sure,
she still
for
had a show. I think.
Elvira will forever be active.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She has always been here long before film existed. She will be here long after we are all gone from this world.
It
Obviously.
seems like it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If not her, then definitely the archetype, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, my dream is to do a Tales. I actually wrote a Tales from the Crypt episode when they were going to reboot it with M. Night's company.
Yes.
And then it got really close, and they were really there, and I wrote it, and I got all excited. It was one of the first things coming out of film school, and I got really lucky, and they picked it up, but it never happened.
I think I know the cats that you were working with on that, so we'll talk off channel about that adventure.
Yeah, that was a
Oh,
crazy
wow.
thing. It's a rights issue now. We're still trying to make it happen, but that's been a dream of mine because I grew up on that. I mean, I guess that'd be part of my answer too. Is a little bit is Tales from the Crypt. You know, as far as what's there. I mean, even the like the Pale Door was greatly influenced by Demon Knight. You know, Demon Knight's like a big influence on that movie if you think about those two comparatively.
Wow. That makes sense.
Yeah. But I would say, I mean, like Jaws, I have a Jaws tattoo. Like Jaws is definitely what got me into it, but I didn't know Jaws was a horror film.
Same.
To me, it was just like, oh, it's a shark movie. And it wasn't categorized as that until later I had to realize, no, this is a horror film. It's a monster movie. Like it's a thing. But I was fascinated with that. And then I had a book on kind of the making of Jaws. And there was a photo of Spielberg with like a megaphone. And I was like, who's that? Like, who's telling them? Because as a kid, I couldn't figure out, like, how the hell is there a shark? Like, how they make a shark, but they're in the water, and like, how are they film? Like, how was curiosity around the filmmaking aspect of what that was? And I just couldn't wrap my head around it as a kid. When they said, "Oh, that's the guy," like, you know, he helped, he made that happen. I was like, "Ooh, that's what I want to do," and I was kind of on that journey ever since. And then
you just made a shark movie, right, Aaron?
I did. Yeah, I produced. Well, so now I've written and directed for a long time, and now I'm producing for other people while I'm waiting to kind of do a couple projects on my own. But yeah, I just produced a shark film with Alicia Silverstone called The Requiem, and we built a 9-foot practical shark, you know, that I threw in the water and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty rad. I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you name him Bruce?
No. Well, in homage, we named it Barb. So, and then also Alicia's character in Batman and Robin was Barb, so that was part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we had a little fun with that. But yeah, and then I'd say Alien. Alien is the other really big one. That's the first movie that like really scared me, and I had no idea because I watched Friday the 13th and we tape traded Evil Dead and all that, but Alien freaked me out. Like I had no clue that I could feel that way watching a movie, and that changed my whole perspective. And I've kind of been chasing that high ever since.
Awesome. Mine, for me, there was a couple things when I was a kid. So I grew up in Ocala, Florida, which is where they shot Creature from the Black Lagoon, right?
Yep.
So my family, early age, made sure to tell me that before I was even really into movies. And I'm like, oh, man, that's really cool. Like, how do they do that? And so I looked up some of that history when I was a kid. And then, obviously, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, all of that. But for me, the main one there was two. One was The Gate, which influenced a lot of what Steven and I did in Under the Bed. And then separate from that was Monster Squad. And I remember
Monster Squad.
getting to meet Fred Decker and have conversations with him right at like cons about that. I think that's what's so awesome about what all of us do. No matter how big you get in your career, separate from horror and horror, everybody in horror is so accessible, right? It's like all these legends like Tom Holland and, you know, freaking Dante and everybody. We all at some points, I'm sure, have met them or can. And it's just, that's what I always love about horror. It's like you're a kid forever in this space, you know? But for me,
it's so funny to hear you say those words, that everybody is accessible, because the first time that I had the job of panel production manager at Sinister Creature Con, one of the first panels I was responsible for producing was a Dream Warriors reunion.
Wow.
Yes.
We had everybody signed on except England, himself. So Legenkamp on down was at this con. And my wife will not watch a scary movie to save her life, but she 110% will come and help me in whatever aspiration I have. So she was there to help escort and make sure traffic crowd-wise was okay. And one of my favorite stories about horror people being accessible, you say, is my wife escorting Heather Legenkamp down the aisle before the Dream Warriors panel, and Legenkamp saying something to her, and my wife giving her some kind of generic answer, and Heather Legenkamp going, "You have no idea who I am, do you?"
Yeah.
Going, I'm so sorry. No, I don't. And Heather goes, "Why are you volunteering here?" And my wife is like, "Well, Jimmy is my husband." And she's like, "Jimmy is your husband?" And like literally open the doors, and here we go, Dream Warriors reunion. But
What a way to start, Jimmy.
Horror is always accessible, man. The fan base to the filmmakers to like everybody, like I feel like everybody in the genre who has had success started as a fan first, and it's almost like the dream mentality of they wish to be like successful in the horror industry has come true. So it's like, why not just be like cool and accessible and know how it feels to have that dream?
Well, and
William good about that too. Speaking of current Spiral, congrats, Darren. But our Full Sail buddy. So it's Darren's a big kid doing this, and I think he engages with fans just about as good as anybody, quite frankly. So what were you about to say, Jay? Sorry.
I was saying, piggybacking on something you said, William, that you had mentioned the tape trading, and I think that goes back to we all did that to a degree, and generations now are still doing it to a degree, just no longer with physical tape. Yeah. And I think that one of the joys that I've had in doing this with Jimmy is getting to meet everybody and getting to talk to everybody. And I can, for a kid who grew up watching, staying up way too late and watching Sleepaway Camp and should not have been watching it at the age that I was, to now be able to call Felissa a friend of mine.
Oh, that's great.
And not be blinking an eye at being able to say that. Or somebody who, when I discovered Leslie Vernon as a film, I tape traded that and showed it to every horror fan I could find to show them this is a quality new film that is doing something completely different that you got to watch. And we were together, Jimmy and I, where all of a sudden I hear my name be called. I turn and look, and it's Nathan from Leslie Vernon calling me over to introduce me to the writer. And it's one of these moments where I'm like, oh, no matter who you are in horror, no matter what level of fame you are, you're still just that geeky kid in the corner at school going, dude, I've got a copy of this stuff on VHS. Who wants it? Who wants to borrow this one? It's yogurt that kills you from the inside. You got to watch this shit. And that's what I did. So to see that these people that are making it, the people that are loving it, that are creating it, are just the grown-up version of that person. It's just so fascinating to me to get to interview everybody like that on that kind of thing. It's great.
Scare Package, like when we made Scare Package, I wrote a scene in there that is exactly what you're talking about, which is Sam, who's in this video store, and Rad Chad, who I'm kind of a little bit of both of those characters. And but there's a moment where Sam's like, "You haven't seen it? oh my God, clear your schedule. You got to watch this. And that was me going in the video store, like bringing something around. I'm like, whoa, you haven't seen this? Dude, you got to watch this. Like, that's what was exciting. And we kind of made a whole movie celebrating that in a way. Like, that's what it was about.
I don't want to derail, but that's a great. I love that. So what was that for each one of you, Jimmy? You included. What is the tape? What is the movie? What was the tape trade that you introduced to all of your friends that you drug around? Because for me, it was the stuff. I introduced everybody I could to the stuff until I discovered Rocky Horror Picture Show had a sequel, and then I started handing everybody Shock Treatment. But what was your one that you discovered first that you were like, you haven't seen this yet? Here. What was yours?
I mean, I've told this story before. It's Carpenter's Halloween. My dad was took me to Blockbuster one night, and he said, "Do you want to see a scary movie?" And I said, "Yes." And he showed me the cover to Carpenter's Halloween, which at the time, my friend from Fried Sanity actually found it and sent it to me. It's here somewhere. The Blockbuster had like this not 10 year, but it was like an anniversary edition. So it was like a very simplistic cover. And I looked at it and I was like, this isn't scary. And my dad said, like, we'll just watch. And so we went home with Carpenter's Halloween, and I couldn't finish it that night. I made my dad turn it off. After the scene where Jamie Lee looks down with the bed sheets, we didn't even get close to Halloween night the first time we watched it. For the longest time, that was the movie that I leached onto. I fell in love with horror after that night, for sure. James, what about you? Go. What were you going to say, Jay?
I was just whoever's got another one.
Mine was so I played sports when I was a kid, right? So I got into movies after I got sick with Lyme disease. That's when I fell in love with film, when I was like in between 7th and 8th grade. So then I started catching up to everything, right? But so there was two. One was Event Horizon, Paul Anderson's.
Oh, yes.
That's
beautiful.
My favorite horror films ever. And because the visuals, the stuff, psychology, the mental health standpoint in that movie, everything just like blew me the hell away. But for me, it was Meet the Feebles. I knew about it. And then I'm like, wait, Peter Jackson's involved in this? Who's this guy? And then, obviously we all know. So Meet the Feebles is still one of the obscure titles that when people find out who's behind it, their minds are blown. So just
For me, I never got into tape trading. I'm quite a bit older than everybody else here. So I never got into tape trading, although I did rent a lot of tapes. But in terms of sharing films, I mean, that's the way I look at my show.
That's exactly what you do is tape trade.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. You're right. So the films that I've been most excited about turning audiences onto that they'd never heard of before was like Spider Baby. Spider Baby, which I love that film. Lon Chaney Jr.'s last really good performance. Such a fun film, amazing film. A public domain film. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, called Messiah of Evil.
I can't say that's on my list. I don't think I have that one.
Look, what was that?
I said I'm gonna look it up now.
Oh, look it up. Messiah of Evil, public domain film. I found it. It was one of those buried jewels in a 100 movie pack from whatever.
I love whenever I run into those things.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? When you find something that's really worth watching and unique and original. It's basically it's a love letter to H.P. Lovecraft. That's what it is. Young woman keeps getting these very strange letters from her father, who's in this little weird seaside town. The letters keep getting stranger and stranger and more incoherent, and then they stop.
1973.
So look for him. Yes. Messiah of Evil.
You just reminded me of another one. Needful Things. That was another one. When you said Seaside Town, right? Stephen King.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible. That is a lesser known Stephen King that I think people should always watch.
Heston's kid, Fraser.
Yeah.
did that. So
I have a script where the store in the script is called Needful Things as an homage to that.
hey, there we
Oh,
go.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, mine would be Brain Dead, probably Dead Alive.
Dead
Like,
Alive.
that
yes.
was one that just got passed around, and that is such a huge influence on me too, because I didn't know horror could be fun like that. Like, that was like just a different world. And then somebody told me about Evil Dead 2 after that, and I watched Evil Dead 2, and then like that just opened like an entire world there. And then I'd say like more recently, like the last 15 years or so, when it was like DVD trading, I really pushed a lot of the French films. So I pushed Frontiers to a lot of people. And then Inside, I was always passing around Inside to people, or Martyrs. Like those three probably.
For all those Dimension Extreme titles that we
there was
comment on. Yeah.
There was a great little Eden Lake, even though it's a UK film, it's another one. Like there was just a way that they were pushing the horror genre internationally that we weren't doing in the States at that time. And I was just like, whoa, what is going on? You know, and then Asia has kind of become a bigger thing now. And I want to see his new movie too. That's on Netflix, Breathe or whatever it is. Aja's
I haven't
film.
seen it yet.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
The queue last night. Yeah.
Yeah, Dead Alive was probably the biggest like tape trader though.
That I remember being handed that one. That's a huge one. Yeah. James, you had one, right?
No, I don't say I haven't I didn't trade tapes. When I think of tapes as a kid, it was recording off HBO and watching those movies till oblivion. And recently I found all these VHS tapes in my parents' basement that they're literally falling apart because I couldn't keep it together. And the one that I found recently was Monster Squad. Actually, I wore that tape into the ground.
There you go.
Yeah,
that is a every October watch for me. Monster Squad.
Yeah.
I every year.
I gave Stan Shaw a part in The Pale Door because he steals the show. I think in that one moment in Monster Squad as the cop. Yeah. He's just so funny, and I always remembered him from that.
Aaron, let's go get the rights to it, bro. Come on.
Oh my God! Don't even.
I'm dead serious.
I talked with Tom Noonan. I brought it up to Noonan, and I was like, man, there's something there. Like, but I believe it's available. Like Fred has mentioned something. So look, if it's there, dude, 100%.
Let's talk. You guys heard it here. Let's connect. For real. I didn't realize you looked at Monster Squad.
I just want to audition for the Frankenstein monster. Just give me
so epic.
I gotta play Horace.
Imagine Joe Manganiello as Frankenstein as the monster.
100%.
Perfect.
You still have to make the character in the movie. I'm in. Let me know. Contact me.
You still have to make the creature from the Black Lagoon look like it's struggling to survive in every shot.
Yeah, at all times, losing breath.
Oh.
You know that's
like
another.
That was pulled in a boat.
Swamp Thing was another one, man. I've wanted to do a reboot. Like I know everyone's trying to do a movie. I think I even read, various people randomly talk about it, but I've got an idea for a Swamp Thing with like Terrence Howard as the lead, and I've never even talked to him about this. But
oh wow,
this is my love of horror. I'm trying to get to where I am now, to where I could just do big studio horror things with people like Aaron and others. And I'm serious about this Monster Squad thing. So let's.
Dude, I'm 100%. We should talk.
Yes,
I would lose my shit. Yeah,
that would be amazing.
The Monster Squad is definitely a fan favorite horror film that came out and has never been touched again. And that's been one of those ones that I think everybody would lose their freaking mind over if they found out that someone was going to try to rehash and put it on
my mind.
I was going to ask that. Are you talking about a remake or a sequel?
I'm talking about something that connects the original to something that's entirely new. Everyone's doing. So
there's
why
a world.
Not?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's some of the better reboot remakes that have existed in modern horror have always been this great connection point.
Yeah.
Not a direct sequel, but definitely not here's a step-by-step remake.
Yeah. Do we know actually what was the movie that started doing this over the last 10, 15, 20 years? Do we know what it was that started?
Who would have started that?
Then I'm just curious, just talking like we are. It popped in my head.
The Evil Dead remake did it. Definitely connected back.
That's right. That may have been
The newer Halloween, the 2018, definitely.
Well, I think when you move past the Platinum Dunes, so like the Platinum Dunes remakes, when they were doing that for a while and they did well, I think there was a lot of backlash that had happened at that time, even though they were successful. And I still think there's some decent ones in there. I think the Texas Chainsaw remake is decent. Whatever I think it's good. But,
it's overlooked.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong. I mean, the classic's classic for a reason.
Yeah.
But I think what happened was they started actually hiring people who were lovers of the genre. And when you're a lover of it, you don't want to remake it. You want to add to the folklore. You want to add to the story.
You want to be a part of it, not try and rebuild it.
Because you have to pay homage to that properly. So in order to do that, you need to let it be what it is, and then find a way to say, now I can bring it back to the forefront in a unique way. Yeah. And then once you do that, if you're honest, there's room to play them.
Yeah,
Drew,
that makes the most amount of sense.
Yeah,
Drew in the comments is saying Nightmare on Elm Street was the first that really brought forth that big rehash of remaking those different films. So that Nightmare with Jackie Earl Haley was the latest wave.
Jay, I'm sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we all, as a society, agree to never mention that film again?
I thought so.
Well, that was going to kind of be my next.
I thought we all just kind of collectively agreed one day we weren't going to discuss that.
That was going to be my next question for you guys. Like, William, as he pitches the Monster Squad, he's saying like it's not a remake; it's a continuation of the original story.
Hey, Johnny, you want to geek some people out real quick? You want to say hi? Hang on. I have a special guest.
Uh-oh.
What's up?
Remember the lead actor of Under the Bed, Johnny Weston?
Yeah, man. What's going on, dude?
I'm doing this horror podcast right now. Johnny and I are up to some stuff. We also live together now.
What's going on, you guys? What's up?
What's going on, man?
Let's get some food, not to interrupt the show, but special guest. When we moved into this place, I had the Under the Bed poster in his room.
Still there, love it.
To screw with him, so he walked in.
I'm making a horror trap now, so I'm a musician a little bit, but staying with the horror.
We're up to some stuff. I just wanted to have just a special appearance.
It's good to see you guys, man.
Fun, man. Definitely, man. Good to see you. Thank you for saying that.
All right,
man. That's what I love about live stuff. You never know who's going to pop in randomly.
Hey, I always bring the special guest, Denzel.
Always. You did that with Denzel on me randomly that morning. By the way, Denzel Whitaker's joining us. What? Oh, I guess so.
Sorry, what was before I threw off this whole thing?
So what is the preference, man? Because you pitch the Monster Squad continuation as a continuation and not a remake. With you guys as a ticket buying audience member, like when they make something like Nightmare on Elm Street and now it's Jackie Earl Haley and it's like motion cap and CGI and he looks more real, like a real burn victim, but gone goes the personality that we've come to love with Robert Englund. Are you automatically like, okay? Or do you are you like, no, I'm good with them taking a fresh take at a tale that has been told? Because I mean, after all, we're only going to be on the planet for so long. At some point, and it chastens my soul, it burns my heart to say, but at some point they're gonna remake Luke and Han and Leia.
Oh yeah,
like it's just gonna happen. So to like remake Freddy, Michael, Leatherface, where we everyone who's I would say within like a 25-year age bracket may be like, man, that's sacrilege.
So here's my thing with that, right? Like there are people that discover the franchise for the first time with the new ones, not even knowing that the others were out there. Right. But that's good because it gets stuff to live on even longer than it does. But I'm still such a huge practical effects person and things like that. I think sometimes, yes, it's useful to utilize what we see so much now, but still, like, you can't go wrong with the practical effects. So if I did something like Monster Squad, that would be as, many practical effects as possible and then enhance stuff with the effects. So kind of my standpoint. I mean, but also when you get listen, Jackie Earl Haley's a brilliant actor, right? Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool when they get him to be Freddy. But you know, like Mahershala Ali is Blade, right? That's been out there, so that's cool. No offense, Wesley. No offense.
No,
But
not at
it's,
all.
like, you know, that's awesome when they do that, but then it just, when it doesn't deliver, I think all of us just collectively get pissed off and then want to move films in a barrel, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it just has to be the filmmaker approach to where they're able to do something different. Like to me, I like to remake things that are, if you're going to actually remake it, I'd be interested in something where you can do something really different with it. Like I was really excited to, like Running Man was one that I always wanted until I heard Edgar Wright was doing it. And I was like, oh, is there a way? Because the book is so much more violent than even
So much more, yeah.
the movie. And I was like, oh, fuck, you can really push this and go a different direction with it. But then, you know, it was playful in the movie, and I still thought the movie was fun. But like, hey, there's a way to go here, you know. And then I always thought like April Fool's Day, you know, was like such a good twist, and maybe there was something there. And there's a few. But if you're not coming from the right place, it shows. That's what it is. It just shows.
Yeah.
So and yes, VFX should only accentuate the practical, right? The fact when they did the Thing sequel thing, whatever that was in 2011,
sequel,
whatever the fuck that was.
reboot-ish.
Yeah, that whole thing was. I mean, they built this amazing monster, and everybody did this, and they threw it all out.
Yeah.
And that's so frustrating because there was something there, but you know, like I thought Zack Snyder did a good job on Dawn of the Dead, and now at the time I was like, whoa, can't remake.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
but he did. He brought something fun.
That was what made Steven and I, when we went to go make Automaton Transfusion, we wanted the whole movie to try to feel as close as possible as the opening of Dawn of the Dead, the reboot. Yeah. That frantic stuff with someone like Sarah Polley in that role, dude.
Yeah.
That Johnny Cash song, it's so clever, it's so good.
Has anyone seen Army of the Dead yet? Have you guys watched it?
I just did last night.
Tomorrow.
Looking forward to watching.
Would you recommend it?
I'm going to go in the theater. Was it good?
I saw it last night, and if you are a fan of Zack Snyder films, then you know exactly what you're getting into, and that is the movie that will deliver exactly what you're expecting.
Okay.
So that's my review of it, because that tells you that if you're not a fan, you know what you're getting into, but if you are a fan, you know what you're getting into.
And Aaron, keep going with what you were saying, though. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. Actually, I want to watch Army of the Dead because I really like Dave Bautista. I think Bautista is a much better actor than people give him credit for. Like, he's got emotional range. And I've got this, like, it's a movie called Black Friday that I want to make. And I'm like, I think I want him for it. So I want to watch this for it to try and go after him.
You and I got to talk, man, because I got the connects all day, too, because of Brandon and stuff.
Oh, amazing.
They sent us the first. Sorry, Jay, but I was just going to say they sent us like the first 15 minutes for like press stuff of Army of the Dead. And I will say, Aaron, you just like, whenever you watch the movie, like the first 15 minutes, Batista rips your heart out. And he's not just Drax from like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
really watching Batista's quiet moments in that movie are even better than some of his dialogue delivery.
I was involved when Steven was doing Escape Plan 2. I went out there to just be with him, just alone. So I got to hang around Dave for about 2 weeks of filming on that. And I mean, dude, this man's brilliant as an actor.
Yeah, I could always see it. Like, especially, I think it was in 2049, Blade Runner 2049, and he had a couple. There's a deleted scene with him on that's so good, and he just brings so much to it. And even moments in, as Drax, there's moments there where you're like, there's something behind this guy. And just always, and I have this like Killer Santa kind of movie thing that we want to do, and like I'm like, oh my god, like I think Batista would be perfect. But yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I'm glad to hear that he's delivering on the movie.
What Jimmy was asking about the remake thing, from me coming from a theater background, because I'm a playwright. All we do in live theater is remakes. You're going to see a production that was inspired by the last production that was inspired by the last production that director ever saw. So all you're ever seeing in that, and then with Lord Blood Rah, with the films you show in public domain, they quite often inspire another low budget film that gets remade into something bigger budget. So we both come very much from the world where remakes are very much the norm.
Yeah.
And so I get excited every time I hear about it. When I heard about the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, boom, I was in. You told me that Jackie Earle Haley was in it. Great, I'm there. I paid my ticket. I was in the theater. And you learn just as much as a horror fan and as a creator of art from the bad things and from the missteps that you do from the successes.
Sure.
So every time that a remake gets announced, I'm like, I'm 100% behind it.
Yeah.
You're not going to fail unless you just don't care about what it is.
Right.
If you're only looking at it as how can we make as much money as quickly as possible on this property, then you don't have the heart for this anyway. But if you care about, look, I'll watch a remake of Dead Alive tomorrow if it's made by a filmmaker that cares solid about it and wants to hit while still saying their own thing.
And
William and Darren, you guys are both producers. You know you want to put your own words on it, and that's what it needs.
Direct, like, one of my best friends in the world, Stephen C. Miller. I think Stephen did a great job of that with Silent Night, right?
Oh yeah,
he took it completely, basically changed what that was. Got incredible actors like Donald Logue, all these cats. Malcolm McDowell is the cop. Silent Night still to this day for Stephen is tragically underrated.
I agree.
It's so good. It's so good. Like, he had so many big set pieces. I mean, that's what Steven does. Like, that guy is so efficient as a filmmaker, and he just has so many big set pieces, and he has a way, it's so stylized, and it's so like in your face, and you feel like that. And yeah, the Silent Night remake was so good. It was so much fun.
Crushed it, man.
It's fun. That's the thing. These should be fun. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the really scary stuff. But to me, like, I want to make fun movies, like I want to make escapes, and that's the stuff that excites me. It's the stuff that I write and direct more, and then the stuff that we're producing. I'm here in a shitty hotel in Toronto. We just finished filming a movie up here that I can't announce yet, but it's basically like a horror comedy. It's kind of like The Frighteners meets like a John Hughes movie. It's wild.
It's a good Frighteners call.
Yeah, I love The Frighteners.
Peter Jackson, baby.
Back to like remakes, it's like people who have a knee-jerk reaction against remakes. For one thing, remakes are nothing new. Vincent Price's House of Wax is a remake of Mystery in the Wax Museum. It goes back for years, and don't forget Carpenter's The Thing and Cronenberg's The Fly, both remakes, both absolutely brilliant films.
Yeah.
Incredible films. So, you hear about remakes and you go, oh, okay. You got to wait. Okay. Who's directing? Who's cast for this? What's their attitude towards the original property?
Exactly.
When we do the next one of these, right, that happens and any of us get invited to, I want to try to get one of my mentors is actually Larry Franco, who was Carpenter's producer. So he single-handedly produced Big Trouble in Little China, co-produced. He was his first AD. His first job in Hollywood after the DGA training program was freaking Apocalypse Now. Okay.
You go look at John Carpenter's filmography and just like look at the opening credits, and you'll see that name in a lot of stuff.
He went on to produce like Batman Begins for Nolan. Now he does stuff with Mark Gordon, right? Like Nutcracker. But he would geek out. So he talks about all this like ASU film students and other people, and just remind me, Jimmy and Jay, next time. I'll get Larry involved in one of these, and he'll come on and talk.
That would be amazing.
Definitely, man.
And these conversations have popped into my head, like, why the hell haven't I done that? But he's, I learned a great deal from him, how to get to the point that I've gotten to as a producer, and then just some of these stories. Oh my God, from some of the mechanics of these like iconic horror films that he was involved in, and him and John. It's just, it's legendary stuff. So
here's a question for everybody, if I may, Jimmy.
No, go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here's a hypothetical situation. A studio comes to you and says, "We want you to make a movie. Budget is no questions asked. However much money you need, we'll throw it at it. The only stipulation is, it's got to be a remake." Which film would you remake? What would you pick?
You guys know mine.
I gotta claim the same one with Monster Squad. That'd be the
Monster
first thing I
Squad.
would think of.
You're gonna go with Monster Squad with it. All right. All right.
I thought this before actually. So.
I am gonna go with Blood Diner.
Ooh.
Which because it's got a fan base, but that's niche enough that it's not gonna be hammered by critics automatically that somebody's remaking Blood Diner. Nobody's gonna give a shit. Except for like 5-6 people. Me being one of them. B, I absolutely adore that film and I love every second of it. So it's a property that I love. So I would treat it with the respect that I love about it. And it's been long enough that I think you could easily retell that story with a new voice and put it out there for an audience that I think would really dig Blood Diner. It could be done as a great horror comedy, like you were saying, Darren. I think it would very much play that way versus just trying to make it a straight horror.
God, I don't even know. I don't even know. It's like hard because if it has to be a remake, I'd probably like I said, I wanted to do Running Man. So that's the first thing that comes to mind, but also I'd rather let Edgar Wright do it because he's going to do it better than anything I would do. So I'd rather just let that happen because as a fan, I want to watch that. But I mean, my first inclination is because everybody's been trying to do it because somebody's going to do it because the rights are about to get settled with Sean Cunningham and everything on Friday the 13th. The rights are about to get settled. Somebody's going to remake that. They're going to reboot it. It's going to happen. So if it has to happen, then because otherwise I would leave it alone. But if it has to happen, then like let me get in, So I have a few takes on Jason I've always wanted to do. It's like he was one of my gateway horror people for in every single way, and I think there's some angles there that could be fun. And then I also April Fool's Day. I still think it's a really good twist.
It's such a good one.
Yeah, and I'm like, you could do something big. I will say too, Will, to your point about Event Horizon, we never got to see Paul Anderson's original version.
Not at all.
That movie was so toned down because Titanic took too long to get made. So they bumped up Event Horizon that to be a summer blockbuster movie and a studio film. They're like, and he's like, whoa. And they're like, no, you can't have any of this shit in there. So they cut it way, way, way down. So, let's like maybe go back to that original script. Let's do something. Let's like push the violence further and do this like real portal to hell shit. And I think there's something there. Yeah.
Yes.
Can we keep the same cast?
Oh, Sam Neill should be cast in everything we ever do forever. So it's fine.
I agree. I agree.
Not too wrong.
Everything.
Has
and
anyone
hey, speaking of Sam Neill in The Mouth of Madness.
In The Mouth of Madness.
Amazing.
Yes.
Like,
so good. I reference Sutter
here...
Kane all the time. I'm always making Sutter Kane references.
Sutter Kane. I'm a Sutter Kane reader.
Written by
Have you read Sutter Kane?
Freaking Michael DeLuca too, of all
Yeah.
Like, DeLuca wrote that movie. Like, what?
So amazing.
Has anyone here seen Possession?
Oh yeah. Early Sam Neill. Yeah.
Early Sam Neill. He is. Genius.
And who's the woman in Possession? What's her name? She is amazing. That is one of the best performances I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Ever seen a movie. Yeah. When we made Starry Eyes, that was a big reference to that we gave to Alex Esso. Was like made her watch Possession and Dennis and Kevin, the directors on that. Like they were like Possession was a huge influence in that film. And they made Alex watch that as like a reference point.
Also, they crushed the Pet Cemetery remake, in my opinion, too.
I think so too.
Differently,
yeah. I pitched.
I just would have liked to see more of the book thrown in. Since you were talking about Running Man, Darren, with more of the book, the Pet Cemetery remake I thought was good. I thought I would have loved to have seen more of the Wendigo and more of the book stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like the Running Man. If there was a remake of that, I'd like to see a full horror remake of that.
Yeah, that's what Running Man would be like. I would go. I mean, look, we just on Scare Package alone, we did 50 gallons of blood. Here, I mean, this movie, we were just throwing blood and goo everywhere. I mean, that's what we do. So we would do that 110%. Yeah.
You guys know what's funny because I talked before we got on here about the company I'm going to found. So it's named after my partner, Sydney. She's the L. And then my grandmother, Lucille. So it's called L. Lucille. I was born on her birthday, closed all this on her birthday too. She's no longer with us, but she's playing games with me from the afterlife. It's funny, Eric, because her and I, when I was a kid, Friday the 13th, same deal. We used to watch all the USA marathons together. And so part of my whole career and influence. So company's named after her, but she was a horror nut with me, man, when I was a little kid. So
I wasn't allowed to watch it, so I had to sneak around and watch it. So you talk about, James, about the videotapes on HBO. My grandmother got HBO for free, so I used to sneak, and I had to go to her house after school. My mom would do taxes, and I would hang out at my grandmother's house. I would sneak VHS tapes in my backpack. I would put on the SLP mode, and then overnight I would record, and like whatever was there, I would get, and I would swap out the tape the next day.
Nice.
Wow.
And there was a Friday the 13th marathon that they did, and I got that after 2 nights. I got the whole thing. And I kept those tapes. I watched the hell out of those so many times.
I did that with my aunt. I did that same thing with my aunt. That's why it's
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My grandmother had no idea the channel came for free. It just like there's one TV in the house. It just popped up, and it was there. And I'm like, oh my God, there we go.
That's great. On remakes, I'm not a filmmaker by any stretch of the imagination, but I would love to see. Actually, given, I was going to say the resurgence, but not really, given the current tide of black horror, started with Get Out and Lovecraft Country and this new series that I have not checked out yet. But I've heard it's great.
Guys, everybody please watch them.
Okay, I've heard it's great.
You cannot binge it. It's so impactful you can't even binge this show.
It is on my list to watch step by step through. Yeah.
That's nuts. Keep going.
I would love to see a remake of Blackula. But
God.
Obviously, I don't think you could call it Blackula. You'd have to call it Mama Walde or
Well, unless you made it a comedy, then you could call it Blackula.
Oh, I'd love to see a straight take though.
If you want to see a straight take, we're losing Blackula.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I mean, in the beginning of that film, he is the leader of an African nation that is trying to get these world leaders to end the slave trade, and he happens to go to the Prince of Wallachia, Count Dracula, to try to do it, and he's cursed by Dracula. I would
doing a straight take would be amazing. Yeah,
straight take would be absolutely incredible, and I want to see Idris Elba.
Oh hell yeah,
Idris Elba as Mama Walde. Yes,
I literally was having a conversation at work. We have our little group of guys especially in distance learning times, when we're working real hard with the kids virtually. We have the room that we duck into, and we do our film debates and whatnot. And that he was actually a topic of discussion, that Idris Elba is like one of the most underutilized talents in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Like that dude is such a freaking good actor.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree with that. Yeah,
that guy has not been allowed at all to spread his wings and showcase his talent.
I would say the same thing with Sam Rockwell too.
Yeah,
as far as people who underutilize, both of them. We talk about like Jimmy. We mention quite often Idris Elba, and this movie's coming out. Who's going to be cast in this role? And Idris's name pops up all the time because he's so talented.
That cowboy, the Concrete Cowboy movie he just did on Netflix.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Check it out. It's ridiculous. And I mean, so I know we just got a comment that said he should be the next James Bond. I've been saying that for the last few years.
Yeah.
There were rumors for some time, and of course,
for a while,
faction lost their brains over it.
Yeah. He's incredible, man.
Oh, he's a great actor. Yeah, amazing actor. Yeah. He was the most interesting thing in Star Trek Beyond. He played that role fantastically well.
Well, I thought
he played that role so well.
I thought the biggest mistake that they made with the Stephen King franchise was having them reversed. They had, McConaughey try to be the Man in Black, and I was thinking that they should have let Idris Elba be the Man in Black and let McConaughey be the gunslinger, because the whole franchise, McConaughey, or the gunslinger rather, is written like a Clint Eastwood type.
Yep.
And so when you're, it's Stephen King, so I get it. Like, there's all bets are off. You can, transdimensional, whatever. But when
there's a space turtle involved, we know we're okay.
Right. And the villain of a Stephen King movie, like The Man in Black, is a son of a bitch. And when you have an actor like Idris Elba, like that's a dude who could totally be a son of a bitch in any form or feature, especially when that movie first came out and they were marketing that thing. That thing was going to be like its own Stephen King verse. It was going to be.
It was going to be.
Yeah.
That was going to be the hugest thing. Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I know I just read that it's called Eloise or something with Julianne Moore, based on this book TV series, and King wrote all the episodes, which is interesting because that doesn't happen often with him. And I think he's getting to the point where he's wanting to see his work represented as best as it possibly can now. And he's involving himself more in these adaptations. It's interesting.
Well, and that's been a slow process for him that I've always loved. I remember, I still have someplace, it's one of my prized possessions in pop culture history. I have a ticket stub to opening night of The Lawnmower Man. And it says Stephen King's The Lawnmower Man. And by the next week, he had successfully sued to get his name taken off of The Lawnmower Man. So any other time other than that first week of showings, the ticket's going to say The Lawnmower Man.
That's cool. That's wow. That's
and
dope.
That's when he started investing more into. Oh no, that's fine. I mean, he had the whole deal where no, you can buy the rights to my film for $1, but I get to approve whether it ever gets made.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to solidify your place in pop culture history and make sure that the people who love, like we talked about the two of you and the idea of the Monster Squad remake coming from somebody who loves it, then it's in a better set of hands automatically. So King looking for that is the brilliant way to go.
Talk about a good,
please.
Wait, I think I froze there. A good remake as well.
Which one?
Oh, sorry. I think I froze there. I think Lawnmower Man would be a good remake, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Because of technology and where Lawnmower Man is now. The book is so rad. There's so much that's there. And I think it feels very dated. When you watch it now, it feels very dated. I think modern technology could actually really do a really good thing in that film. So I think there's something really cool that could be done with Lawnmower Man. Yeah.
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
I would not skip out on seeing a Lawnmower Man remake. In a heartbeat, I'd pay for a ticket for that. Yeah,
they did a good job too with Woman in the Window on with Amy Adams and Gary Oldman on Netflix. I don't know if you guys got to see it.
I did see that. That's a great one. Yeah. Earlier, Blood Rah mentioned Hammer Films, and speaking of that, the remake of Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe, I thought was a brilliant homage to Hammer Films, to the atmosphere of all British horror, really, and then the acting chops of Daniel Radcliffe himself, and the way that they retold that story with today's technology, still using practical, but enhancing with CGI, like you guys were talking about, that it's better to go practical. And I understand in some situations you can't throw buckets of blood, but CGI can help fill that in. Whereas I think Woman in Black did a very good job of just being able to disappear her better with the CGI than the practical could. So I think that was a great remake.
I think we can always throw buckets of blood.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
I want more buckets of blood. Trust me.
There is no look. There are things that CGI is needed. I mean, we just did a haunted house movie. So I haven't watched anything because I just finished filming literally 3 days ago, and it's a haunted house film, and there's some CGI in it but it's only for the moments that really are needed, where there's an apparition or something that's moving in a very unique way. You can do that, but everything else, like they dig a portal to hell, in there, and we dug a hole. We lifted the set, dug a hole. They dig through it. They're going through the ooze. They come out. It's all practical. And you can always throw buckets of blood. You don't need to do digital blood. I like The Walking Dead, but I do not know why they use so much digital blood in The Walking Dead.
I have no clue.
And it's Nicotero. I'm like, this is Nicotero.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing?
But
Come
but
on.
even with Nicotero, we just rewatched. My wife and I just rewatched the remake of Fright Night, which I thought was a solid, done,
Yeah.
serious take on the remake of Fright Night. But the CGI in it that could have been practical pulls me out of those scenes so horribly bad that I always regret. Not regret, but I am remiss to recommend it to people to watch, even though I've watched it multiple times and have enjoyed it thoroughly, because the CGI that does overtake those scenes is so unnecessary, where I think practical effect could have pulled it off just as well and kept me in the movie.
My nomination for the worst use of CGI has to be the zombies in I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Yes.
There is not one reason on earth any of them had to be CGI.
Not at all.
You've got makeup masters that exist on this planet that could have made all of them look absolutely amazing. And
look, I
made
can
them
understand
all
not wanting
CGI.
to make them look like ash-covered hippies, like in Omega Man. Fine, I get that, but we could have made them look cool with practical.
Why not make them vampires like the original novel, like The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price? Which is
I was out after I figured it out about the dog.
What's that?
After I figured out the dog
that
on
was-
that movie, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That is a look.
But, oh, fuck
That's
you.
that's one of those movies that throughout it, I'm like, man, there's a good performance here, but that's CGI. Man, those
Oh,
monsters.
I thought you were talking
gone.
about the dog for a minute. I was
Oh.
like,
No,
man,
no,
that's
no.
all.
No, that dog
No,
scene.
no.
We can't talk about that dog scene. That was going to mess me up. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
No, I'm gonna cry.
he's so, and it was so clever the way they shot that too, because you're like on the dog and he's holding it, and then they tilt up in the same shot. And
Yeah,
he's sitting there in that emotion in his face, and then he just push in on his face, and you're just, and Will Smith is at his peak in that moment, and it's just obliterates you.
So
many.
my question for the producers and directors that are dealing in the industry here. So how much of moments like that, because we know about The Thing, we talked about The Thing prequel remake, that was 100% the studio came in and said, throw all the practical out, it's time to CGI it all up. How much do you feel, I mean, have either one of you ever had a studio look at you and go, no, you got to cover up all this practical?
I mean, so I've been kind of on the reverse end of that. So, I'll talk about Cutthroat City really quick. So T.I.'s makeup, right? So I wanted to fix that in post. I got everything lined up to fix it in post. Got overruled in being able to fix it in post, right? So then there's moments like that where, and you're balancing stuff. Economics, that was down the road. It's so you have to put stuff out, and it's just situations we face and what we do. But it's
Let me stop you just for a second. When you say that, because that right there, that's a complicated fix. So when you say fix it in post, and it's something like T.I.'s makeup, because that's not like a set piece or anything else. You're talking about a principal character that you're messing with.
Yep. And what I mean by that is, cleaning it up to where in my opinion, it looked great, but there's only so much that you can do, right? To where, plus the biggest problem with that, and this is why I'm doing this new movie, to where I've got a character it's like an older mentor and he's blind. So I'm going to cast an actual blind actor, because
Wonderful.
that was one of the biggest things on this, because it was T.I. and because it was him and everyone knows T.I. It was too much of an out of the moment thing. But here's what I want to say for that. This character grows up in the lower ninth ward. He's got to be a badass in that environment. He's got to survive in that environment. And you see just how much of a badass that character is having a face like that his whole life too, right? So it's a character he's playing. That was part of the character. It was originally supposed to be a grill. We decided not to do that. And we went, with that. It was something that Tip wanted to do. So, and critics are going to say what they're going to say. Audience is going to say what they're going to say. But it was part of the environment and the setting of the film. So you're also limited when you get to a certain point, to do a face cleanup for makeup or whatever. And I mean, you're talking, on an indie film, you don't have that kind of money after you've gone through testing or something. So those are things that, Aaron deals with this all the time too. It's like we're limited on what we can fix and what we can't when you get so far down the road. So now I'm just going to make sure it's a lesson learned. I mean, I'm never going to deal with an experience like that again. And if I am, I'm going to have the money budgeted to do so, start to finish.
That's interesting because like I'm in a, I could just say it. I don't think it matters that much. But like on the Requiem, our shark movie, what we've done is we had a practical shark, but we've decided to do some other scene, like we repositioned where we want some of the action. It's a big action movie. There's a lot of action in this thing.
Yeah.
And they get lost. So as we're repositioning it, we're like, you know what? We need to do this part with a CGI part of the shark. And like it pains me in those moments, but it is what's right for the movie because of the way the action's going to flow. And you see that. And you can't always, so sometimes you kind of get stuck. Now I will say, without getting into too much, there are things they are trying to the distributor, who I can't announce, but it's a big studio has it now. And they are trying to replace my practical shark with more CGI.
So you're dealing with exactly what I'm asking here. Oh my God.
I don't know. I got to be careful. There's not too much I'm probably allowed to go into, but yes, I mean, literally we have emails, and they're look, it's going to work. I will say this. It's not like it's going to look, I think it's going to work either way, but to me, like my thing is, I think they're like, you can tell it's rubber. I'm like, that's okay. Like, I feel like you connect with that. There's this, like in the thing, when that dog transforms, it's rubber. You can see what's happening. The seams are there, but that still gives you an authenticity to it. Versus, like you just feel it. It like puts you in that moment. And
Jimmy and I just had this conversation the other day where we said that we'd rather see a shitty rubber suit than a $1 million CGI practical suit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean 100%. And look, and it does help because seeing the actors, like when you have this 9 foot by 4 foot, articulating shark that we built, which is like insane, and you put that in the water and you put an actor next to that and it jumps out at you, you get a different reaction than a fucking tennis ball. Sorry, can I curse so much?
It's there.
Okay.
You're fine. Okay, fine. I'm doing it anyway. So
I love that
apologize.
every guest will always ask it after. It's like, oh shit, wait, we can cuss here, right?
I'm like, if you've not watched any of my podcasts, I've done that with people. Like, it is what it is. Like you put a tennis ball out the water, it's just not the same thing, Like, you get to really get a reaction, and I think that helps. Like, it just helps in the performance and all that. But I mean, I'm dealing with it right now. Like truly with a studio, made it all practical. There's definitely things that I think do make sense, but there are things that I don't think make sense. And we'll see.
On that too, with the studio, like, Cutthroat passed all the QC tests and everything else. Like, nobody was like, you guys have to fix this. I want to fix it from the very jump.
Yeah.
You did.
So it's like there's the reverse into that too. There might be things that we want to do that a studio's like, no, you're not doing this and it's not needed, but we want to. No. So you have to go through those.
And on your end, Will, I definitely understand where it's like at a certain point, hey, look, money, we're not gonna spend more on doing something that's fine. But it's always baffled me whenever something's already done, it already looks good, and somebody wants to spend more money on making it look bad, like in the Thing remake.
Because
why did you do that?
I'm just going to get into this for a second. Here's what it is. There's a lot of people who actually don't know movies. They actually don't watch a lot of fucking movies, and they get so caught up in what do they want to be, and they want to be the savior. They want to be the person who comes in and is like, I saved this movie. And they have a big opinion and a big ego, and they just want to push something out there, and they're the ones that gets to change something. And that's all that it is. It is ego.
Yeah.
They
want to stamp on the product. And so they want to put their
stamp on it.
It's just product.
Yeah.
Well, like James just said, they want to put their stamp on it.
Yeah, James, that was right. Yeah. It's that way. It's like, look, I'm not talented enough to be a writer. I'm not talented enough to be a director, but I changed this film completely.
Well, that's how you do. That's how you do studio notes, right? And like, we'll know this. So like, you'll get notes, and then the way you do it, you're like, this is awful. Like, what? I'm like, no way in hell am I doing this. So what you do is you find a way to do something different, and then you twist it, and you're like, yeah, you gave me this note. It was really great. And it got me thinking about this.
Yes.
And that led to me doing this. And then all of a sudden, their note, even though it had nothing to do with what you were doing, they got to change something. And that's what you give them.
And
But
that
you have
appeased
to
them.
manipulate
It wasn't our ideas. You know?
Yeah.
So it's literally no different than me giving my medication to my cat, where I have to give a treat afterwards in order to make it go down.
Yeah. Yes.
Jesus, literally, studio executives are basically cats.
They're
All
giving you
right.
this, these horrible pills, and I put it in Jello, and I make a way to like.
And
take
there
it,
you
so.
go. You'll
Yeah.
take it now,
And
right?
now here's the good thing, though. We have gotten to where everything's getting so much more modern. It's a new generation of filmmakers, new generation of studio execs, young people in positions. We're getting to the point where there's a lot of people that are fans of movies, that aren't just people from business, that are filmmakers that get into the studio spots. It's becoming easier to put movies together and do what we do in
That's
that
true.
world, because the times have caught up. It's not someone who's 80 years old making decisions on which social media star to put in a movie, you know,
Yeah.
past that. So thankfully.
Well, I think there
it's
are fewer
definitely moved right
gatekeepers
person.
now, right? Because there are so many outlets that you can.
I've been having a lot
through.
of conversations recently, because like Johnny, you know, Johnny's controlling his own career now, and he went on, you know, he was the lead in Project Almanac for the Platinum Dunes guys, right?
Yeah.
So like now he's in a position to make decisions on what he wants. And I think we've gotten to the point to where, like, here's an example. Why does Tom Hanks need an agent? Why does Clooney need an agent? Why does Julia
literally
Roberts
to answer the phone so he doesn't have to?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Period now, to where all these suits, and I'm just going to say this, all of these suits and all these agencies that have operated in archaic ways from the agencies that have never changed, everyone's realized now they have to change business differently, because the value is not on, you know, who the companies are and all this. It's on the artists. Period.
Oh, yeah.
Directors, artists as writers, artists as producers, as actors. Everybody can control their own content now. And the agents are almost like the paper keepers in some aspects when you get to a certain level with the stars you're dealing with. And it's also to find new material and other things. But I'm just thankful that movies now, for people that really want to make movies, that are really talented and really want to put them together and have an idea to do so, they have a way to do it, because there's not as much of a gatekeeper situation as there has been to get to where we're at. So that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. My opinion.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
It's definitely gotten a lot better. I mean, there was a stretch there, like post Get Out, where there was still, you do like the water bottle tours, and they're like, oh, we're looking for the next Get Out. I'm like, actually, you passed on Get Out, so you wouldn't even know it if you got it.
You already said no.
Yeah,
to the next one.
But there is
3 months ago.
There is a generation, especially with streamers and what's happening. I think streaming is good for film. Look, I want to go to theaters, but it's good because it's giving freedom to filmmakers and what's there, and it's giving opportunities. So those people, like, I work so much with Shudder, and I've gotten so close with Shudder because they want me to make, like, for the longest time, it was, you can't make a horror comedy. Nobody wants a horror comedy. And then Shudder's like, what other horror comedies do you have, Aaron? You know?
Yeah.
And allows me to make the things that I think we want to watch.
Yeah.
And they give us that freedom to do that. And I think, you know, now that you have companies like that, and even what like Paramount Plus is doing right now is really exciting. And even Peacock is like doing some weird stuff. Like there's like, I'm like, oh, cool. So like you can still have like, fine. You want to think there are still some of those folks that sit in certain positions, but they've empowered others that run these subsidiaries that can greenlight films left and right. And they're pretty rad. There's some pretty rad people. And you just kind of work with the good ones and you avoid the annoying ones, and you just keep making shit. So.
And hopefully those annoying ones go away if everyone avoids working with the annoying ones.
Yeah, hopefully, unless they hire their son and, you know, all that stuff. Yeah.
So, man, before we have to go, I had a fun one that I came up with all of you guys, because we literally have every phase of the game. We have, you know, Aaron and Will, who are producing the film. We've got Lord Blood Rah, who could show a film on his late night horror show. We got James, who could either direct it and or feature it on his podcast / multimedia channel. And then you got, again, me and James, who could or me and Jay rather, who could talk about it on our podcast or try to go make an indie film. But James, Creepy Kingdom is the creepy side of all the theme park entertainment. Disney's Foolish Mortals, his Haunted Mansion documentary is a super fun film. So my question to you guys, to this panel as a whole, I'm going to pitch to you guys the backstories of the haunted mansions in the Disney park.
Oh my God!
And we got to figure out which one of these we're gonna back, because Guillermo del Toro keeps teasing on his social media like, this is gonna be it. This is me coming on board. And so Aaron's got ties to Shudder, so we know this thing's gonna be a Shudder exclusive, big time deal. We're gonna pitch this thing, so we can go Mystic Manor with it. We can go like, you're on board for a tour through an archaeologist going through all his cookie crap, and then his ragtag adventure friend Monkey gets into a forbidden artifact, and now we're dealing with like a Tim Burton-esque haunted mansion adventure, and all these artifacts and or different cursed items are coming to life, and they're taking out members of our crew one by one. The whole thing culminates, spoiler alert if you haven't been on the ride or like done a POV on YouTube, the whole thing culminates with the mansion like falling apart. You think you're gonna die, and just when you think it's the end of days, you make it out. So we would have like a final girl or a final guy make it out of that film. Or we could go tragic love story, Disneyland Paris, Phantom Manor. We have Belle of the Ball. She's so excited. Her dad's like a baron, so you got to imagine that like trained baron, Western days, like, so he's like a real big asshole, and he's a really good hat. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the big, like the chest thing, like those chest things.
Played by Sam Neill.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we got him. He's gonna marry his daughter off, right? Wrong. Kills the husband to be. Wife thinks husband left her at the altar. She dies forlorn. You go through the mansion in this town. This town is just under a curse ever since those events. All kinds of bad stuff. Why you're at this mansion, I have no idea. I haven't worked that hard on the pitch yet, but there you go. So there's that ghost story that you can go to, or we can go classic Disney ghost story, and there's like a bunch of debates from suicidal sea captain to deed landowners trying to bewed another beloved to take the possession of the soul of his beloved can take possession of a fresh body in the haunted mansion, but it is very turn of the century southern plantation haunted style mansion type horror movie. Guillermo del Toro he's attached. He's going to do, at the very least, he's doing us the favor of doing the visual creations of these monsters. The best case, he's actually directing this thing. Which one do you guys think that you would want to go see? We got the Hong Kong crazy kooky adventure, the tragic French horror story, or the traditional southern plantation.
Can I throw the other one at you? How about you do a supernatural Princess and the Frog?
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay.
Ooh. Dr. Facilier needs.
See, that would be
horror story.
I like that idea a lot. That one gets me excited. They're doing live remakes of all of the Disney cartoons anyway. Just start with a modern one.
Except for Black Cauldron. They won't do Black Cauldron though.
I hope they do.
I wish they would.
I would like them to remake Black Hole, but that's just me.
Right. On yours though, I like number 2, man. You get the hat, the thing, London, Paris. That's
old school Europe. I love that.
That's fun.
That also fits Guillermo's style too. I think that's what's important. If we're bringing in Guillermo, then he's got a style to him. He likes, and also he loves gothic love stories. So that's part of what appeals to him. So, because I don't want to bring in Guillermo just to do creature design and get Doug. Let's get Doug Jones. Let's get the whole team. Let's do it right. Yeah. Let's get Guillermo to direct it.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, let's get him excited about the story. So I think anything that could be more of a, gothic romance, and I think that's a little more too. I think that kind of fits a little more in his wheelhouse. So that's producing, right? You got to like think about who you're trying to get and like who are the right pieces.
And I threw another pitch out there in the process. So
there you go.
Exactly.
See, look at that.
Yeah.
So when this one makes money, we can get Guillermo on the second one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm on board for all of it as long as the Hatbox Ghost, a live action Hatbox Ghost.
Yes.
Oh, would have
Yeah.
to appear somewhere no matter what.
Have to,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That character done live action with Guillermo doing it. Yeah. Guillermo del Toro. I mean, Crimson Peak is the most gorgeous, luscious horror film I've ever seen in my life.
It's so beautiful. And Pan's Labyrinth is too.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why Crimson Peak wasn't received how it should have been. Quite frankly.
Oh my god! I was at they did a world premiere, sneak preview.
I blame the marketing.
Yeah,
I blame the marketing on that entirely because it felt like, from an audience point of view and from a podcast point of view, it felt like it was really sold to us as one thing. And as a fan of Guillermo, I knew what I was wanting to see out of it, and I got exactly what I wanted.
You just sparked this. Has anybody seen Voyagers yet? Which is basically a reboot of Lord of the Flies from Neil Gaiman. Director of Limitless did this movie starring Ty Sheridan and Lily Rose Depp.
I love both of them.
I watched it. The trailer, you talk about marketing, the trailer does not do that movie justice in any way. This thing is next level sci-fi. It is so incredible. So I recommend it. Keep going. Sorry, that just watch.
I am putting
Colin
Farrell. Come on.
Yeah, it's top 5. My favorite top 5 all time science fiction.
Oh my god! Wow. Okay. I remember the teaser for that like a year ago or 9 months ago or so, and I've been waiting for it. But we've just gone movie to movie to movie here, and I have like so much I'm about to catch up on this summer. So yeah, that's way up my alley. I have a sci-fi film I'm dying to do, so I need to do a big sci-fi binge anyway.
Same, brother. Same.
Yeah,
I'm kicking stuff around. Yeah, we'll be talking, Aaron. I want to hit you up.
Deal.
Speaking of sci-fi and completely blowing the marketing on a film, John Carter.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
I liked it.
Great film.
Yeah.
First of all, why call it? I've heard this. This could be totally wrong. I don't know. But I heard that they were originally going to call it Princess of Mars, and then they thought, no, that wouldn't work. Then they were going to call it John Carter of Mars. But the film Mars Needs Mom.
Yep.
They didn't want Mars in there.
Yeah.
That's executive thinking for you, right?
Yeah.
That's executive thinking for you. John Carter of Mars, and you pitched the fact that this was the first science fiction hero.
Yeah,
before
and that
Rogers before Flash Gordon.
But that's the thing that I thought it was a victim of from an outside point of view, industry wise, is that by the time John Carter of Mars was made, so many things have taken elements of John Carter of Mars and put them into other films that by the time John Carter finally gets made as a film, it feels like a rehash of all these other projects because so many other stories took elements along the way. And I think that they should have seen that and tried to steer it more towards the fact that this was original. Make it feel like more of one of those old serials to make it seem like, no, this is before the things that stole from it. This is what was around.
Yes.
But I think they tried to market it and make it as a modern day film. But by now, everybody's seen this exact story done,
right? Because
all these other films stole from it. But and to a degree, when you're telling stories and everybody here in one way or another, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's presenting films, we are telling stories. There's only so many stories to tell. You just tell it your way, and that's what makes it better. And I think that was the problem. It seemed like they were copying the way of all the way, or trying to. At least that's how it was marketed. It looked like it was copying all the things that had copied it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the problem was with it. I think it was beautiful. It's one of those films that you can put on and just visually watch and learn what pictures can go together in great filmmaking. I just think it was a victim of a lot of bad circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
not to end it on a down note, but man,
oh shit, I did it again.
man,
I do that all the time.
but man,
I gotta
like,
make happy fun time.
tell everybody, man. Starting with James. You guys. I think you guys were all taking the time out. This has been a really cool conversation to be part of.
Thank you.
James, where can they see what you're up to, man?
Cool, yeah. So on every social media platform, we're at Creepy Kingdom. They have our website, creepykingdom.com, and we cover a lot of stuff, a lot of the same stuff Rific Network does: theme parks, films, haunts, and also we make films. That's why I'm here, and all that stuff you found on our website.
Right
on. My show, Lord Blood Rah's Nerve Wracking Theaters, now in its 11th season. You can go to lordbloodrah.com, LORDBLOODRAH.com to check out where you can stream it or what local TV stations it's on in your area. And my latest, the latest thing I've got going on is a Patreon, patreon.com/Lord Blood Rah, where I do a brand new weekly show called Lord Blood Rah's Cathode Zone. And in that, if you sign up on Patreon, and you get a weekly TV series where I host episodes of classic horror and science fiction TV shows, like Lights Out, Suspense, One Step Beyond, Tales of Tomorrow, and that kind of thing. So if you go to
guess who's joining your Patreon?
Join the Patreon, and you get a new episode every week, but plus a few other surprises. And I'm finally, because the virus situation looks like it's getting a lot better, coming up this August 7th, Saturday, August 7th, at the Orinda Theater in Orinda, California, Creatures Con, which is the local, I should say the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area Sinister Creatures Con in Sacramento. Creatures Con is the local San Francisco Bay Area classic horror and science fiction convention. We're not doing a convention this year, but we're doing the Universal Monster Party at the Orinda Theater Saturday, August 7th. And we're going to be celebrating 90 years of the Universal Monsters. Dracula and Frankenstein, both those original films came out in 1931.
31.
In 90 years. So we're showing the original Dracula, the original Frankenstein, and the film that came 10 years later that revitalized it, The Wolfman.
The Wolfman.
So all three of those films on the big screen. And our special guest is going to be David J. Scal, who wrote the Monster Show, The History of Horror, Death Makes a Holiday, The History of Halloween, did all the commentary for the Universal releases.
Spelled SCHOW, yes? Isn't that how he spelled it?
No, David J. SKAL.
Oh, K-O.
Yeah, no, I know David.
Yes.
I know David Shao. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
David J.
that's what I
Scal.
was, yeah.
Yeah, no, different guy. He did the if you've got any of the official Universal releases for the original film, he did the documentaries on them.
Okay.
All of those, yeah.
Go.
He's going to be there, and the second host of the local creature features, John Stanley.
Nice.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So those two special guests, again, that's Saturday, August 7th at the Orinda Theater. You can get tickets at creaturescon.com.
Cool, man. Aaron, what about you? Where can people keep up on what you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all the normal places. Aaron B. Kootz, pretty easy to find. Paper Street Pictures is my main company. We've been going since 2012. I have another company called Blood Oath. That's kind of like a genre consulting thing that we're doing. That's just like trying to help people make movies. And then we've got The Pale Door that I wrote and directed and produced. That's on Shudder now and RLJ. Scare Package, where I wrote and directed the core story and produced. That's out now. And then coming up, we've got Snow Valley. It's this like little kind of witty thriller. Barbara Crampton, Cooper McGriddle, a few other folks. And then we have The Requiem with Lisa Silverstone, the shark movie. That's coming soon. I have Old Man with Stephen Lang that Lucky McKee directed that I produced. That's We just locked picture on that. It's so good. I'm so excited. What else? We have Revealer. That's in post now. That's coming soon. That's with Tim Seeley, the writer Rack Slash, and Revival, and
Congrats
Michael
on
Moresi. Yeah, it's a really, really cool, like, two women are stuck in a peep show booth during the apocalypse, and like this demon's coming. It's pretty fun.
I love that.
And and then we have I got a couple other unannounced. Oh, and then I have The Bunker that we did with Blood Oath. That's with Tony Todd and Tobin Bell and Chelsea Edmondson, who's in Army of the Dead. So yeah, I got a bunch of stuff coming, and then this one that I haven't announced yet that I just finished. And then I leave here and I go to Oklahoma and I start the next one in 3 weeks. So
wow,
it's a grind, but I'm the luckiest person in the world to do it. But yeah, anybody can find me, say hi, watch all our movies. We appreciate it and appreciate everybody checking it out. So
right on, William.
Hey, so you can same deal socials. I am Clevinger with an I. Still funny. 20 years deep. People still sometimes use the E, but it's so that, and then I'm really excited. I spent and Cutthroat Cities on Netflix, still streaming, also on Amazon. And I've spent since trying to mount that Oscar campaign in the capacity that we did in a grassroots style, grassroots, not roots. And I've teed up everything now to finally, after the last 4, 5, 6 months, publicly launch and announce everything that we've been up to. So I'm announcing a not only film production, multimedia company and sports business, but also we're in a position now to fund movies. And the first of which we're doing in Ohio with Denzel Whitaker. And that's all that I can say. So that'll be rolling out here by the end of June. And I'm just excited now to be in the spot that I'm in after 20 years of all this grind and all this build, to now be the guy that's always been in the position of chasing, trying to put these all together, and now actually helping put them together. So beyond blessed, beyond fortunate. And
that is awesome.
Can't wait till Aaron and I are getting inducted together into the Full Sail Hall of Fame. It's going to be beautiful. So,
one day, brother.
Right? It's awesome.
Awesome.
Jay, everybody can find you at, buddy.
All the social medias, Jaye of many hats. And you can find my production company, ultrasuadeproductions.com. You can get links as we add them, because we're sending a show, the one that Jimmy was talking about earlier, A Day at the Beach, which is about 2 women meeting on the beach during the apocalypse. And it won Best Ensemble at Tucson Virtual Fringe and has been moving around to several other virtual fringes, including, I can announce now, which is the first time I'm publicly saying it, we are taking it to the Edinburgh Virtual Fringe Festival, which Edinburgh Fringe is the original Fringe Festival. So to get to take a show there even virtually is a big honor, and I'm very happy to get to do that. So A Day at the Beach is out there virtually touring, and then now that COVID is thankfully opening things back up, I can't wait to hit the road myself again and take my solo performance on the road, because after the last year I had, that Jimmy knows, I had a stroke last year.
Yeah, I was
a year ago yesterday.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yesterday it was the 1 year anniversary, and
yeah, it was after that happened, right after we met and you interviewed.
Right out, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you how everything was going with that.
Long, rough recovery road, but the great thing that I have is, through my love of pop culture and through my love of meeting amazing people like yourselves and hearing your stories, it's one of those things going, I'm not done yet, and I'm ready to put my voice out there, and I want my story to be told some more. So I'm not going to leave this stage until I'm finished saying what I have to say.
All right.
So if all these other inspiring people like yourselves, who I get to meet and interview at conventions, are out there doing it and pushing it, it's inspiring me to where during my recovery, I'm like, well, then I want to move forward. I want to use them as my inspiration point and go, no, then I have something to say too. So
you made up for your bummer go out. You
Oh,
came
yeah.
back and you redeemed yourself, man.
hey,
No.
give me enough time, I turn it back around.
All right.
All right, man. We thank you guys for listening, and we got more coming up. We're going to do a costume contest update. Still have the HCW show to come tonight, and we will be back here very shortly. Thank you guys again, and thank you for watching.